So here's the $1 million project. Students could have gotten fines if they did not turn something in, or we also had a wheel towards the end of the project of unexpected life changes, and students would spin it. And then they would either get money or money would take away. This was kind of a huge hit. Like this one, students were kind of playing the lottery. So if you pick a number between 1 and 3, if they got the number correct, they would win $10. So they got to add $10 to their budget. They just kind of thought this was fun. We would randomly select 3 to 5 students a day to do this, and they got to spin the wheel. And then based on their response is how much money they got to add to their budget or take away. So this one, they got to add $560. They uploaded a photo of their family, and then they used this sheet to keep track of how much money they were spending throughout. Students had to subtract. At the start of the project, we did not let them use calculators because they were in 5th grade and were not allowed. And then towards the end, we did let them to check their work and to kind of prepare them for 6th grade, because in 6th grade, they are allowed to use calculators for some of the time. So we did let them towards the end, but they just said what it was, and then they just took the price, and then they kept subtracting it to get their budget. They would add their new balance up here once they got it from this page. Then they would tell us about their house. So the first thing we wanted students to buy was a house, just because this is probably going to be the most expensive thing on for their project. So they would tell us about the house, where it was, how much, what kind of garage, and that kind of stuff. And then they gave us 3 reasons why they wanted this house. They'd upload a photo of the house, and then they would buy appliances for the house: a dining room, a bedroom, a family room, the deck. We also had students add up. As you can see, they had to add up all of their totals, and they had to put the total down here in the bottom for that room. And then they took the total for that room and put it on their balance sheet. The house bills we made them do with their parents. We just told them to use what their parents typically pay, just because we wanted them to realize how much parents are paying for all these bills. For those students that were unable to, we just kind of worked with them to help them. Then they picked out their car. They told us about the car. And then if it was a sports car, we gave them a speeding ticket. And they had to take away from the fine. Then the students chose a college. They could have done in-state or out-of-state. And they told us a little bit about the college. This was kind of tricky for students, figuring out how much, and they didn't realize how much college actually costs. So this was a really good part of the activity. So students, if they lived 25 miles, they did not have to pay room and board. But if they were going to college out of state, or if it was more than 25 miles from their house, they did have to pay for room and board. And then they paid for food. So food, we originally were going to let them leave up the amount, but we were running really close to the end of the school year. And so we gave students a budget for how much they could spend for their family. This could be up to you depending on how much time you had. We were just running short. Our goal at the beginning was to say, nope, they can pick out their menu. So if they want to eat at McDonald's every day and they figure out the price based on that menu, they can. However, because we ran out of time, we did give students a budget, and we just kind of wanted to show them how much it would cost. And we also just talked about this is a high budget because you're a millionaire. And then they told us what this was supposed to be for the menu. We, again, ran out of time, so we did not get to this. Then they picked a vacation. So we kind of made it easier for students. They could have done a cruise or an inclusive resort. So a lot of students chose a cruise just because it was, they thought it'd be fun to do. And then we asked them about their cruise. And then they had to figure out how much it was going to cost for everybody in their family. And we just used their current family. So if their current family only had 2 people, they only had to pay for 2 people. Their current family had 6, they had to pay for more people. And then they had to choose 3 activities to do while on vacation. Then if they wanted, this was optional, a pet. So some students did want a pet, other students did not. And then any money they had left over, they could only have from up $0 to $1 left over. So this was the miscellaneous area that students would add and just duplicate these pages if they had a lot of money left over. Then they had to write 5 checks just because we wanted them to work on writing out the numbers. And a lot of students don't have experience with checks. So we just made them do 5 checks, one for their house, vacation, groceries, car, and a miscellaneous items. And then we told them here's some websites that might help you. Throughout the project, towards the end, students presented 5 of their slides. It could be any 5 of their slides. They just had to know before presenting. So the students got up, shared with us maybe what college they wanted to go to in their house. So students would pick. As they were doing that, I would go through and just make sure they did all this. If they didn't, they received a fine for not having that completed. We also realized throughout the project that we needed a place for students to add questions. So, for example, do I have to go to college was a question that was commonly asked. We just said you do not have to go. However, someone in your family must go, and you have to figure out the price. So we did say they don't have to, but someone in their family does, and they just need to pay for that. And then they asked if they could get a job, and we just said, nope, you just have $1 million budget. You don't have time for a job, because I think some students, you'll really learn their personalities. Some students will spend their money really quickly. Others are going to be savers and kind of save up. They asked if they can live in an apartment and said they could, but they have to figure out how much it's going to cost per year. And then we gave them some other websites that were helpful to find things, because some students were having a really hard time searching. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I look forward to seeing these projects.